Siblings. Aren't they just fantastic? Growing up, I had two younger sisters. And the youngest one, she was cool and all that, but the middle one, her and I, we had some fights. So we're down one day, one summer vacation. We're in like South Carolina. That's 2 states south of me, for those of you that don't know American geography. East Coast represent. We're down in South Carolina. We're at the beach, right? We're having a grand old time. I'm digging holes in the sand like a little schizoid kid. My sisters are out playing with other children in the water like normal social people. And I'm over here burying starfish like some kind of a psychopath. When all of a sudden I hear screaming and confused wailing and crying, and I see my sister is being carried by like some random dude that saw that like this whole thing happen. Turns out she had been stung by a jellyfish, but not just any jellyfish, a man o' war. And ooh, it was a big one too. I saw the whole mark wrapped all the way around her thigh, down her knee, all the way down her calf to her foot. She was a giant sting mark, giant. And they kept talking about like I guess man o' wars are poisonous or they have some kind of toxin or something. And there started to be talk quickly of like my sister could die. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, holy crap, what's happening to my sister? My sister. No, not my sister. So we eventually make our way back to the little beach house we're renting. And my mom is out there and she's in tears. She's like, oh no, man of war, are you okay, sweetums? She's like patting her head, she hugging, and she turns to me. She's like, wet. We're gonna need you to be a big, strong, brave boy. And I'm like 14, by the way. Like she's talking to me like I'm an 8-year-old, but I'm in high school. Yeah, this is how she talked to me. Sweetums, we're gonna need you to be a big, strong, brave boy, okay? We're gonna need you to pee on your sister. And I'm like, oh, hold the phone. Look, we sure we can't take her to a hospital or something? There's no time. There's no time. You have to pee. Take this cup and go pee. But I'm like, Mom, like I don't have to pee. I don't have to go. Like, what do you want me to do? And my uncle is kind of like there as well. He's overheard this whole kerfuffle, this whole situation happen. He takes me aside and he wraps his arm around me. He's like, look, wet. I know you don't have to go, but we really need your pee. Like, is it that bad? Like, is it serious? He's like, it's real serious, man. He's like pulls me in a little closer. He's like, son, listen, son. If here's what you got to do. Take this cup, go into that bathroom over there, take a fist and hit yourself in the balls. It'll hurt like hell, but you'll have to pee right after. And then we can just splash that on your sister's leg and she'll be fine. And I'm like, you want me to? I would rather die. Like, so I take the cup and I slowly, like begrudgingly, walk into this bathroom. I lock the door and I look in front of the mirror and I'm just like, okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And I take I raise a fist, right? I take it up and I get scared. I bring it back down. I said, no, can't do this. Look in the mirror. Okay, do it again. So I raise a fist again. My hand is shaking. I'm trembling. I'm like freaking. I'm like, oh God, here it comes. And I slam it down and I crush my own balls. Like, Jesus, that hurt. I can still feel the pain of my teenage self crushing. Like, I hit it right between the balls. Right between it. Oh, did that hurt. Jesus. But it worked like a charm, just like my uncle said. I pissed. I almost filled up the entire cup. I'm like, I walk out there like a wounded war veteran, like a soldier that had been hurt in battle. I say, I got the pee. Here, take it. And my mom looks at me and she's like, oh, well, we don't need that anymore. We found some cream and she'll be fine. Turns out they're not that dangerous after all. And I just look at her with like shock on my face. I am aghast with horror with this little pea cup like right in front of my face. And I'm like, You don't need it anymore? What do you mean you don't need it anymore? You know what I did to get this for you? And then I threw it away. I stormed off. It was horrible. There was, of course, another time where me and my two sisters were, walking down the neighborhood street. We had a little park, right, like by the base of our little neighborhood. Pickup leagues would play basketball there. Kids would play like t-ball, and youth baseball leagues would play there. People did sports, and there was like a little gazebo for parents to chill and like get drunk with vodka and their orange juice or whatever while they watched their kids play sports. So we're walking down to this park, and we're bringing a soccer ball with us. Sorry, football to the rest of the world. I'm sorry, I'm an American heathen. I call it soccer. Forgive me. And then we brought like some tennis balls to play catch and whatever. And we're having a grand old time. We're playing. It's one of the few instances where we're actually all getting along and not at each other's throats trying to kill each other for pleasure. And we get done with our day of events, of fun, of excursions, and we begin to make our way back home. The whole way down there, it's probably like, I don't know, maybe a mile of like straight downhill on the way there. So on the way back, it's a mile of straight uphill. It's probably like a 25-30 degree incline. And I'm like 12 years old, which means my other sister's 10 and my other sister's like 7. So we're all very young. We're not in high school yet. We're just grade schoolers of varying age. So we begin this long, steep ascent up this giant Mount Everest neighborhood piece of shit hill that I hated climbing as a kid. I mean, I have great calves because, I climbed it a lot, but man, at what cost? But we begin like being followed. And notice out of the corner of my eye, we're being followed by these 3, like, I guess, high schooler kids. All of them wearing black shirts and black jeans. Those like emo jeans with the fucking like the chain that hangs off the pocket or whatever the hell. Yeah, those kind of kids. And they had the straightened hair, and I think one of them had like some Marilyn Manson face paint on. But they're all wearing black. They're like these weird emo kids. So they start like, kind of walking behind us. And I figure, well, they're probably just leaving the park after a fun-filled day of burning little pieces of paper and smoking weed, like normal emo kids would do. I'm like, they're probably harmless, whatever. And so we keep walking, and there's an area where we like have to turn to kind of get to our house. So we turn down that way, and they're still following us. They turn as well, and I'm like, okay, now I'm afraid because these 3 creepy Gene Simmons looking motherfuckers are right up here. They're like twice my height. I'm scared. I have 2 little sisters with me, so I kind of stop for a second and turn around to like make sure they're not following us. So I stop and I look at them just for a brief second. Well, it felt like a second at least. And they're still there. They're coming right at me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here. And I turn back around to gather my sisters to like go somewhere, and they're gone. And I'm like, yo, where did you guys go? What? They're gone. So I start sprinting. I'm like, I don't want to call out their names because that's gonna like alert the emo kids that like I am where I am. And I'm just running. I'm looking behind houses. I'm checking around, patios, and I like am walking through people's yards like, excuse me, have you seen 2 little girls? Like, it's bad. I've lost my sisters. I'm a terrible brother. I'm a terrible big brother. It's just the worst. So after like maybe 4 minutes of running, I just noticed them out of the corner of my eye. They're like hiding under some random person's deck, right? Like they're freaking, what are you doing? You don't know this house? Get out of there. But they're well hidden. They were safe. So I caught up to them. I'm like, you guys left me. And they're like, yeah, well, we were scared of the emo kids. And I'm like, you can't just leave me with emo kids. I'm scared of them too. And we had a whole argument all the way home about emo kids because we were all very afraid for our lives. We're like, well, they were probably going to like dress us up in black makeup and shit. Well, no, they were probably going to kill us. That I, the reasonable one, the smart one, they did not want to dress us up in black makeup. They wanted to murder us. Don't you understand? This is how kids disappear and end up on milk cartons. It was stuff like that. We had a whole kerfuffle about it, a three-way argument. It lasted like all night. It was bad. Siblings. Can't live with them, you can't live without them, and you can't get chased by emo kids going up a hill at 4 miles an hour with or without them. Ta-da.